Guys, today on Select Few, we have SmoothVega, DFW's top music promoter, hip-hop artist, godfather of Fort Worth hip-hop, and three-time Fort Worth Weekly top hip-hop artist. And from what I hear, K104 Street Swag champ.
Oh, man, you went back on that one.
Hell of an intro.
Bro,
that was like 2012. It's been 11 years since I had that title, you know?
Like, there were so many that I couldn't even pick because I was like, you know what? Smooth has got a lot of, like...
He's got accolades.
Yeah.
See, you know what you left out was I actually got inducted into the Fort Worth Music Hall of Fame in 2019.
Did you really?
Yeah, man, at 34 years old. So that's pretty cool.
Let's go. Dude, I really... like
you got an even longer intro now.
Like I want to.
All right, let's restart this episode right now. Man, I appreciate that. You know what? It's interesting because, as you guys know, I have a podcast myself.
Yeah.
And so, I've kind of done the podcast route the last 2 years. I've done practically everybody's podcast I can do. Right.
Right.
I've officially gotten to the point where like I'm going to start winding down. So this is probably one of the last ones, if not the last one I'm going to do. And it's only because I'm big on quality. Like,
sure.
I don't care about the following. Like I understand everybody starts somewhere, right?
Right.
So I respect the grind. I respect the ambition. I respect the hustle. But whenever you guys reached out to me on Instagram, I saw the quality and I was like, man, I got to do this one.
Yeah.
This is dope. And, so congratulations on getting started, getting going. And I hope that you guys keep moving forward because I'm telling you now, I'm not going to do many more of these.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I've been giving the world too many interviews.
On that note, we sincerely appreciate you being here. On a second note, shout out to Friday on the quality.
Yeah,
that's our guy. He's the whole face of our podcast. So.
I mean, that's the exact truth.
He makes us look good.
It's like when we got started, Friday and I got together and we're like, you know what? How do we want to do this? Because I don't want to half-ass anything I do. And he's like, this is the camera you need, this is the camera you need, and like do this, this, and this. And I was like, all right, done. And then he cuts it, mixes it, makes it happen, and it's fucking Netflix beautiful. You know what I mean? So like, no, I really appreciate that. And shout out to our producer Friday, because
yeah, well, I mean, I think for me more than anything is like, obviously I enjoy conversations.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Filming them doesn't bother me. Doesn't make me feel any type of way. But, like I said, I want to be a little bit more selective of what I do moving forward. So you guys are going to get the best version.
So you chose to select Few.
Oh, man, look at that. Bars over here to the right. You know what I mean? I want to leave it all out on this one. So hopefully we're able to...
we'll get there.
Go through the journey, man. So.
Absolutely.
Dude, let's go through the journey. But, man, dude, how did you get the name SmoothVega?
That's a question that's actually been asked quite a bit. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Like, now that I'm older and I look back on it, it's such a funny thing because I always tell people like, I don't like the name SmoothVega. Like that's not a name that like I'm proud of.
Right.
The name SmoothVega was a name that I came up with as a teenager. So when I was about like 12, 13 years old, I had got expelled from school. And so whenever I got moved to the other school, I created this alter ego.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was like this, basically like I was trying to mask that I was really unhappy by acting like I was happy. So back then we didn't have cell phones to text each other. So I would write a letter and give it to my friend that went to the school that I used to go to give to the girls. And I created this ego like, my name's Smooth. I'm a smooth operator with the ladies over here.
Oh, shit.
You know what I mean? Like,
smooth operator.
Like, smooth, right? So Smooth was actually just the name that I started, even when I started rapping, it was just Smooth.
Yeah.
But as I got a little bit older, right around the time I was in high school, my sophomore year in high school, I was like, you know what? Smooth's too common, and I don't think it reflects me. So at that time, they used to have MTV Cribs.
Yeah.
MTV,
I love that show.
Who could rent the best house?
Yeah, for real, right?
Shout out to Redman for the apartment.
Yeah, for real. That was super real right there.
Yeah.
But it was so funny, like, everybody would show on Cribs, they would show like, and this is my Scarface poster. It was like every episode there was like a Tony Montana poster on the wall. And so I kind of felt like, all right, this Italian vibe thing going on, like the whole mafioso thing going on, and that whole era at that time was that they were glorifying that a lot. So I had a friend of mine that used to go by the rap name Ace Uno.
Okay.
And so he had the name Uno. So I was like, oh man, I think we need to like do this Latin mafioso Italian thing going on. So I came up with the name for my other friend. I was like, well, what's gonna be my name? So I went through the dictionary. And I was like, man, smooth, whatever, smooth this, smooth that. I was just trying to pair it because I was thinking.
Dude, that's a lot of options.
I was thinking like Petey Pablo, Bubba Sparks, smooth. Right. And then I came across the word Vega. And in the dictionary, Vega actually stands for the brightest star in the constellation.
Okay.
So I was like, smooth Vega. I was like, all right, this doesn't really sound corny to me, but at the same time, the whole smooth Vega. Yeah. Was like, okay, well, I kind of feel like I represent the brightest star.
I mean, it's unique as fuck, dude. It's, you know, at least it's not little smooth Vega. You know what I mean?
But it was so funny. Whenever I hated I've never liked the way it looks separated. Right. So it's one word. Yeah. And so smooth Vega, initially I used to spell it smooth, like exclamation point. Yeah. Vega. The exclamation point used to keep it together. Okay.
Was that MySpace days?
Yeah, probably right around that time. But I used to have $sign.
Oh, yeah.
There was $sign MMOTH.
Oh, yeah.
Exclamation point Vega. But then eventually, you know, it just became Smooth Vega. So
I mean, with
that's the origin of the name.
So with all that said, like, what do you want to be called?
I mean, I want to be called successful.
Right. I mean, facts, right?
But no, I mean, it's cool. I mean, Vega, I got used to it. Everybody thinks Vega's my last name. It's not. And at the same time, I got used to just kind of like.
That's your identity now?
Yeah, it's my identity.
I mean, did the homies just call you Smooth?
That started recently. More people started calling me Smooth. Like some of the newer talents that I manage, they call me Smooth.
Yeah, it just flows better.
It's not even that. Bro. Like they don't know how to say the full thing, right? Smooth. It's kind of like when you text, it's like, you know, everything's an acronym.
Yeah, it's too long for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to actually, people just call me Vega for the longest. Still to this day.
I'm glad you said it was a constellation on a car. You know,
star in the constellation. But you know, it's so funny because everybody's like, "Oh, you know, why'd you come up with Street Fighter?" And they thought it like,
right,
yeah.
Like, it has nothing to do with any of that.
I was like, this guy loves Dragon Ball Z.
I was like, nah, man, that was it.
That's Vegeta.
I don't think I ever had like an alternate name though. Like I don't know what it would have been. And at the same time now with, you know, because I got my website, smoothvega.com in 2002. Yeah. It's 2023.
That's like back in the day.
I got smoothvega.org.
It's 21 years, man. And yeah, dude, I mean, fuck. I mean, like, this is who I am at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you have no choice now.
It's branded, you know, and to your point, it's unique. It's not like there's a bunch of Smooth Vegas running around.
Nah, not at all. I mean, but
well,
you know
the real Smooth Vega, please stand up.
Shout out.
Yeah, bro.
No, I mean, it's, you know, when Friday sent me your name, I was like, who? You know what I mean? But what was crazy is, like, I didn't realize it, but I grew up listening to you without knowing it.
Oh wow!
You know, no offense to you and that stuff, but it's like you know, I grew up on all that trill music, and I was like, you know what? And then I started listening. I was like, oh, I've heard this song. Yeah. You know, I was like, I think I still got this on Napster. You know what I mean? Like, I still got these songs, right? Because you know, I might owe you like $100 for my Napster downloads.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, like it's funny whenever you go through the motions, and now looking back, you know, it's 2023. You don't realize how fast time passes by.
Dude, you blink, it's gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
it's true. And you know what? It's like my music career, I don't really feel was much of one, even though I had success in it, you know, believe it or not. But you know, I don't really define that as success. Like I feel that you know, I don't know. It's kind of weird to explain. Like
you have more to do.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it was like I had local success, local notoriety, and even up to a certain extent, regional notoriety, right? And I was able to have that, you know, on this level. Yeah. But man, I've so much more than I wanted. So it's like.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it not defining you. You know what I mean? Like I tell my producer, I tell my employees, I tell Eric all the time, like, everything's a stepstone. Sure. You know, it's like you may not think it's a stepstone at the time. It's your passion, it's your dream. But sometimes, you know, your life changes and you're like, oh, wow, I'm actually really good at that. You know, let me try that. And then that's better. And then you're like, oh, shit, I like that. Yeah. You know?
But what hurts the worst is when you're sitting there, you think you let that go, you get a phone call. Hey, man, you stop rapping? Why? Yeah. You know what I mean? You still got it. It's like, oh, shit. And it brings back those feelings again, like, damn. Like,
I mean, there's some cool shit that I've done. Don't get me wrong. And I'm like, you know, nobody knows those moments that I lived other than the people that were there present at that time. So
Facts.
I've experienced fanfare. You know, I've been to other cities. I've had people, believe it or not, even be starstruck by me whenever I was rapping, you know, and be excited to see me. I had fans at one point, like, that were excited.
Oh, you still got fans?
Oh, yeah. I mean, let me rephrase it. I still have people to this day that'll message me randomly telling me, like, hey, this song right here, you know, it got me through this point in my life. And it means a lot to me. And I'm thinking, like, man, I'm so far removed from that record, but it's still, like, crazy that people will still
affecting people.
Yeah, and it's weird that, like, I'll get that every so often. And even on Spotify, even though I don't really, like, check my Spotify like that, like, I still got like 6,000-7,000 monthly listeners to this day.
Yeah.
So it's like,
so you made something that stands the test of time. It outlives you.
It's almost a legacy, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess, you know, part of it is what'll happen now is kind of like a form of imposter syndrome.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, where like everybody views you as this, but it's like I don't necessarily view myself the way that everybody.
You don't feel that way.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's always been a hunger and a want for more, and I haven't always been able to define the more.
Sure.
But I always knew whenever I was younger, like, oh man,
it's like something's missing.
Yeah, like I know that I want more. But I always used to tell myself, especially when I was making music, how would Jay-Z, Eminem, Tupac, or some of the greats that I look up to, how would they react if I played them on music?
Yeah.
And so I never felt I was that good.
You felt like you were the biggest critic?
For sure.
Every artist is.
Yeah.
For sure, but I was very realistic. Like I was very like, oh man, you know what? I'm not at that level.
Yeah.
Like I can't play my record for those guys and then guys be like, dude, you're dope.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? like,
well, I mean, I totally get that. And I'm not in the music industry, but I look at it like with what my success has been in my industry, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't have anybody to look up to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is wild because I feel like, you know what, I've already done it. I'm not by far the biggest, right? Because most of them go like super corporate, publicly traded, but I'm the biggest in Texas, independently owned.
Yeah.
So I'm like, who do I look up to? So now I'm like fiending for something new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, well, I'm on a podcast now. You know what I mean? Like, but I totally kind of get that. It's in Friday night I talked about it a lot. Just, you know, like his skill set, like on the camera. And like, even though he was like, you know, very good at what he did as an artist, like this is where it's at. Like,
I mean, at our core, we're creatives.
Yeah.
Sure. And as creatives, we always have the passion to create. We want to create. If it fills us, it gives us a sense. Like there's nothing more rewarding than planting a seed, watering the seed, and watching it grow.
Sure.
Facts. And when you're able to do that, and you're able to have success in doing that, and have had success in doing that, it impacts you different. And so you're always chasing that high.
Yeah.
Because it's a high like unlike anything that anybody can understand or explain. Like, you know, I consider myself a leader.
Yeah.
You know, so I have a passion to lead people, and initially the music was always an extension of me trying to lead the people, right?
Right.
Like, I was spreading a message or attempting to spread a message or integrate a message in the music to change people's lives or people's, you know, perspective on whatever it may be. But I think as I've gotten older, like, especially when I was younger, right? Going through the motions, it wasn't that I never felt good enough. I always had a chip on my shoulder, and I always felt like I had to prove myself. And I haven't really undone that.
Yeah.
You know, like it's still part of me. Like I still feel like I have no success, so I'm always going after everything. Like I have something to prove.
Sure.
And I want to prove that I'm the best. And I feel like I've done that locally 100 times over at this point as a promoter, as an artist. But also like it's an evolution, right?
Yeah.
You talk about like who do I look up to, right? You know, you mentioned that right now. I didn't always have anybody to reference that was trying to do or that were doing the things that I was doing. So I'm kind of the first of my kind in that sense. And I guess the goal now is at 38 years old, I want to be able to look back, you know, 10, 15 years down the line and go, okay, there's a handful of people that were a direct byproduct of my influence of what I was able to contribute to not only the music industry, but the world.
Sure.
Like it's so much more bigger than just this singular thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the music industry. Like,
right.
Like
well, I mean, you picked the hardest damn profession. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's there's so many snakes. You know what I mean? Like, you know. But I want to kind of go from what we're talking about, and you know, you did great things as an artist, but now being a manager,
promoter,
like what led you down that path?
I've given different like answers to that in the past, but the truth is that I think naturally I was always a promoter by nature. Like I always cite Vince McMahon as my biggest business influence.
Oh,
he's most certainly my biggest promoter influence. He's the greatest promoter of all time. Revolutionized pay-per-view.
Facts.
Just amazing at what he does, and what he was able to create. And ironically enough, he hit his stride. His very first big event was WrestleMania. He didn't do that till he was 39 years old.
Yeah.
I'm 1 year away from being 39. That's whenever he turned the corner.
Yeah.
And his business boomed, and he went national, and he risked it all at 39.
Yeah.
I'm 38 right now, so I always look at that. I'm like, only like we're the only ones that put a cap on what age we're supposed to do it and not supposed to do it.
Yeah, I mean that's the craziest part, because people, they have this misconception like I have to achieve this, and I had that too. I had dreams and goals like I had to hit this by 30, but it's like I'm 37 years old, about to turn 38 in a couple of days, and it's like, I did not have to achieve that. Even
but
if
don't you think, even though Vince McMahon hit that level, don't you think he still feels the same as what's next?
I'm sure.
What do I achieve? What do I achieve now?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
It just becomes the next thing. It's like a never-ending quest.
It's a ladder that never ends.
For sure. I think for me though, like I was always naturally a promoter, so I studied watching VH1 Behind the Music. I studied watching WWE, not knowing that was what was being integrated into my approach.
Right.
It was being engraved into me. Like, so now I'm able to know naturally how to do certain things without even realizing, like, oh, I'm a natural promoter.
Right.
Right. And the other part of this was, as we're having this evolution of where I'm at and what I'm about to become and what I'm about to do, I started realizing, like, fuck, you know what I mean? Like, what's happening, because I was having a lot of success on the smoothvega.com, on the website side. I was having a lot of different success in a lot of different areas. But what ended up happening was I wasn't getting booked for shows.
Right.
I wasn't getting opportunities. And I was getting frustrated because I didn't understand why I'm winning awards, but I'm not getting booked. I didn't really know about how that shit worked. I didn't know how you got paid. I didn't know if you had to pay. I didn't know any of that. Like, I was completely oblivious, green as grass to all of it. And so as that's happening, right, I come to this point where it's like, man, I was very fortunate to attend an event. I saw an event and I said, I want to do this. I want to do exactly what I'm seeing. And then a few weeks later, I saw it again. I'm like, what the fuck? This is like a sign. I want to do this. And then when the opportunity came up to do it, I took the opportunity, and then I realized by the end of that promotion, I was the one doing everything. And I only got paid this much money. So I approached a local nightclub and said, hey, man, give me a night and pay me this much. And I was only multiplying the number of what I had made because I felt I was worth it.
Yeah.
They didn't want to pay me. They gave me a door deal, and that's what led for me to be the promoter. And then when I saw the amount of money I made doing it on my own, I was like, fuck. Because you got to remember, like, the first event I ever did, I drew like 600-700 people, and I made $3,000. That was a lot at the time. I had never held that much money in my hands.
Yeah.
And then the next event, I held $12,000, and it was in one night of work, even though it was a buildup. But you're talking about a time where there's no online sales. This is 2007.
Yeah.
So, and ironically, that's where I discovered Louis in 2007 at that same event. But it's like, that changed the course of my life, and now I have capital. I didn't always have capital, so now I have money to play with, right?
Yeah.
Now I have money to
organize your own events.
Organize my own events, start booking talents. Basically, as that was happening, and I was in a position to where now I'm putting together my own events, I'm able to book talent, like, it changed everything. And then the respect level changed.
Yeah.
Because now everybody's calling me. Before it was like, oh, he's a popular rapper, or, whatever. You could just say, I don't like him. I don't have to deal with him. But there came a point in time where you had to start dealing with him because I was the one doing events. And if you wanted to be part of a big event, I was a pathway.
Right.
But I didn't see myself as a pathway. I wasn't looking at myself as a pathway. I was just like, oh, I'm doing events, cool.
Yeah.
But everybody was trying to be cool with me. And then I'm booking talent. And you're talking about, I'm 23, 24 years old. I did not know I wasn't prepared for that level of responsibility. And but that's what led for me to be a promoter. But even in the first few years, I was learning how to manage the new responsibility.
Right.
to understand the level of responsibility. I didn't know what I knew I had something.
Isn't it amazing the fake it till you make it in your early 20s? Because, you know, somebody handed me the keys to their company at 21 years old. And like, I look back on that, I'm like, that's never fucking happening in my life, right? I am not handing my company over to a 21-year-old, let alone somebody probably under 30. You know, no offense to that. It's just, you need to go work for a whole bunch of people, learn a whole bunch of things before I'm going to let you manage my business that I work my ass off to build. Yeah. You know, but what he's getting at, in my opinion, it's like that hustle you have, that ingrained, that fire to go after
people
it.
People see that though.
Yeah, you got to fake it.
They see your work. Yeah. I mean, even if you're not faking it, you don't necessarily know what you're doing, but you're just grinding.
I mean, you have to. And you know, eventually it's either going to catch up or it's not. And obviously it caught up. Sure. And, you know, one of the things I want to talk about, Smooth, is the fact that how, you know, everybody's like, oh, I don't want to deal with him, or I want to do this, but then all of a sudden it's like, boom. Yeah. They need to deal with you. Sure. You know what I'm saying? It's quick how people change.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, look, dude, I think the thing about hip-hop and music in general, and it's really any business, I don't want to just say hip-hop because I've dealt with this in other fields, but like it's competitive, right? Yeah. Everybody wants to be top dog. Everybody wants to be number one, but you also have to understand there is reasons why people are in certain roles and other people aren't. And it's like everybody thinks it's easy when they see it being done. And especially when I felt for so long they were seeing me do it. They're like, well, if that guy can do it, I can do it. Right. And not realizing, like, no, it really does require a certain skill set. And there's a gift to have an initiative. Yeah. People don't realize that initiative is literally a gift. Like, not everybody has initiative. Like, it requires a lot to get up and say, I'm going to do this and actually do it. Yeah. Right. And I think specifically with live events, I guess it's a gift. Yeah. I most certainly at the time did not realize it was a gift. I was like, I want to work with this guy. I want to work with that guy. I want to work with that guy. In my mind at that age, I remember telling myself, these people aren't coming to our city. The industry's not knocking on our door, coming, you know, like they're not looking for us, so we got to bring them here. Yeah. So I started booking shows, and what I noticed that the talent, the people that I once looked up to, the people that I once stood up in line to meet at an autograph session. We talk about Paul Wall off record, right? Paul Wall, I went to an autograph session in 2005, stood in line to meet him. For 2 hours, I stood in line to meet him.
People's champ.
Right? And then, but, you know, I was just a fan in line looking to meet the rapper. Yeah. And then, you know, 4 years later, I'm booking him, and we created a relationship that we have to this very day. Yeah. I think one thing that I knew right away is as soon as I built a relationship, I knew how to keep it. Sure. Thanks. You know, that's one thing I learned in core competencies in management classes doing retail was you get them, you keep them. You can get them, you got to learn how to keep them, and then you got to learn how to grow it. Yeah, you got to realize that they're not you got to take the business part out. It's like they're a person. Correct. But building resources and relationships is such an intricate part to growth and such an important part of growth. So being the promoter helped me develop that. Yeah. But I didn't, again, the way that I got from being the artist to being the promoter, it was out of frustration. Like, fuck, I'm not getting gigs. Right. I'm not getting opportunities. So I went and created my own opportunities. But it was not like, it wasn't like a strategic planned out thing. It was like, wow. And then as soon as I started having success, I was like, this is not common. This is not regular. Like some of the biggest artists in Dallas at that time, you know, they were killing it. Like Big Tuck was killing it at the time. Plain Skills was killing it at the time. And I know for sure. Man, shout out Plain Skills. For sure. At that time, I know for sure that per night on my events, I was probably making more money on that one night than most of these guys were making, even though I was acting as a promoter. Right. But I was trying to justify it in my mind, like, yo, I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Like I'm finally like, but I really wasn't. But I was developing the genesis of what would become my company now. Yeah. And my approach now. And you know, because you don't really know what you have when it's happening in real time. But that's how it came about, you know? But I mean, promoting obviously is a very difficult job because it's very,
especially back in the day.
Yeah,
with no social media.
Yeah, I mean, well, there was social media. That's the thing. Like, I don't know. That's the thing. I was in MySpace. I was there at the inception of social media. Like, because before MySpace, you had, you know, website forums. You had mehente.com. You had cpixel.com. You had blackplanet.com. You had Yahoo chat rooms. Right. You had AOL Messenger. Yeah. Like you had all these online communities. You had all these online communities. And I was one of the first people that I know for a fact was going on these websites and promoting. And what I was doing then was what is now called social media management.
Right.
I was doing social media marketing. And
Facts.
and I didn't realize that's what I was doing. And then MySpace came along. And when MySpace came along, you're right, it completely changed everything. Like, if you were part of the MySpace era, for those that are old enough to remember that, right? It was very, very popping. Like, it was a big website. It wasn't like it really was what Facebook and Instagram were kind of combined. You know what I'm saying? Like,
dude, I miss putting a song, for my profile.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like I tried off and on for like the last 3 years, like to remember how my login.
Yeah,
it
was like the MySpace stuff. And then you remember, like, they used to have what was called the bulletin board, and the bulletin board was like your status.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how you were able to update your fans and update what was going on. And like, bro, it was a big thing.
Yeah.
And I was one of the people that was able to utilize it, bro. I was in contact with a lot of people at that time. Like, I want to say me and DJ Khaled messaged each other. Like, there was people, like, there was a real community in that world. And
that's a young DJ Khaled.
So I was able to take all of these things that I learned from that time and I applied it and I grew. But back then it wasn't cool to be an internet rapper. You know, people from my city, people would like, oh man, you're just an internet rapper. You're on the computer. And they would make fun of me because I was doing social media before social media was called social media.
Right.
And it used to piss me off. Like, man, fuck you. Like, I don't have a car right now. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm broke.
Yeah.
This is all I have. All I have is this fucking computer and time. So I'm going to leverage this computer and I'm going to fucking do what I do, right? Give me a stick, I'll make fire. I learned how to graphic design. I learned how to web design. I learned all of that through this fucking computer, right?
Isn't that crazy how that turned into, that's the bare minimum right now. That's,
well, it's funny.
The skills you taught yourself are like the everyday thing that people do to promote themselves.
That's that fire though.
Now it's like, I'm an expert. Right? But it's so funny. It was like back then they were laughing at me and it was like back then, it wasn't cool to be an internet rapper. Now it's celebrated to be an internet artist. Like, oh, you're viral.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, bitch. Like, where the fuck was that at when I needed that, right? Like,
be like, dude, I was viral way before y'all fucking were even born.
Yeah, dude. I mean, there's people that'll tell me like, you know, man, dude, like your website was popping, and I've had married couples that have met on my website because I had a website for them, which was an online community. I've had people that collaborated off there. There's so much that came out of it, and it's just like, wow, like this is crazy. But yeah, I mean, I did use social media, and there was a utilization of it. But you know, I think it's so different now.
Yeah.
You know? But I think that was part of the progression of like the journey, the artist, the promoter, and then eventually, whatever.
But I mean, that's the thing now though, is like everything that you learned there coming up in the game has now led you into your social media management, your podcast.
Yeah.
Like that's all shit that you learned that it's like
Premier live experience.
Now it's like I didn't have to go learn that shit. I'm gonna jump on this podcast. I'm gonna do my thing.
I mean, it's second nature at this point. It's become like, you know, you practice. You know what I mean? Like I didn't go to college. I didn't even really technically graduate from high school. To be technical,
same.
right? So it's like, you know, how did you develop all these skill sets? Well, you did it like I'm self-taught, and when you're self-taught, it's not easy. Like, you know, I wasn't taught how to rap. I wasn't taught how to songwrite. I didn't know how to create music early on in my career because I wasn't taught and I wasn't naturally gifted.
Yeah.
I developed a skill. You know what I'm saying? That takes time. When you develop a skill, it takes time. Meaning it could take a while to get it. But when I got it in a way that nobody else has been able to grasp it. And it's because I put the time in.
Sure.
You know, the last 8 years in specific, you're talking about Premiere Live. You know, I launched it unofficially in 2015, officially in 2016. Here we are in 2023. You know, 7-8 years in. I mean, that's a fucking degree.
Yeah.
That's a degree in live entertainment. You know what I'm saying? That's a degree. That's real, a fucking PhD in fucking talent buying. You know what I'm saying? You can't go to school for this.
No, you can't.
You know,
and a lot of people think you can. You can just, you know, come fresh off the bus and all of a sudden you got, you know, you have a doctorate in this and this and this, and you can outdo the guy that has no college education.
Sure. You know what I love the most though? When somebody asks you like, did you go to school for that? You're like, hell no, I didn't go to school for that.
Yeah, that's the best feeling.
I went to school with Tom from MySpace.
Well, yeah, for real. Like when people ask me, did I go to school for it? I'm like, yeah, I did. It's just not the school that y'all know about. You know, like
hard knocks.
I went to the school of actually doing it. Like, you know, because there's something about actually going through it and going through the motions. Like people don't fucking realize, like, bro, like I took a lot of L's. Like, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, people always look at that like a negative, like, oh man, you know, you took a loss. not just on live events in general. You know what I'm saying? I've had a lot of doors slammed in my face. A lot of people treated me like shit early on, and I had to see a lot of those same people, and they had to see me now, and they're forced to either work with me or they're forced to acknowledge what I've been able to do.
You don't get better if you don't take L's.
Not at all.
You have to have something to learn from.
The other thing too is every 10 doors is there's one going to open, and that door mattered.
Man, look, I always just stayed the course. I never really thought twice about rejection. You know, whenever I got rejected, it would just make me go harder.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really sit there and dwell. You know, I'm not one of those people that focuses on the problem. I focus on the
All
solution.
right, bitch, watch what I'm about to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was part of the approach. I always had that fire, that hunger, but I also always, like, didn't know what else. I didn't have an identity outside of it.
Well, it's like, you know, like with the little bit of success we've seen from this podcast, you know, in the last 60 days, it's like I look at these comments and it's like, I like the haters. It's like as soon as they start hating, I'm like, it's because you're in your mom's basement. You know, well, look, you have nothing better to do. Like, you come sit in my shoes for a week, and you know I'll give you $1 million to prove that you can do what I do.
Haters are your biggest fans.
Well, you know, I would say this. Like, I feel like the internet in today's society, in today's world, is so much different than the world that I was in, because it was new whenever I was doing it. Now, people troll just to troll.
Oh, for sure.
And so, like, I feel like if you have people getting on social media saying this is cool, there's going to be someone that's like, it's not cool, just to say it's not cool.
Right.
Exactly.
And there's people that do stuff just to get a reaction. And I'm not one of those guys that subscribes to that mentality. Like, dude, I get eaten up now. Like, I've never gotten as much heat as I've gotten now, you know, ever in my time of doing social media. But it's cool because at the same time, I'm like, I guess I reached people.
You know the cool thing is, like, they probably already follow your page, and so now you're getting paid from it. You know what I mean? So, like, the haters are paying.
The engagement keeps on the algorithm.
You know what I
anyway.
mean?
So, hey,
like who
comment
cares,
on
right?
that.
You know,
I mean,
let the haters come, and that's what Gabe and I do. We like the haters come in, and I'm like, we'll laugh about it because some of it's like racist as shit, and I'm like, there's no place for that here. But it's like, you know, it's a hate.
I mean, I appreciate the engagement aspect of it. Sometimes it goes a little too far, but I will say that, you know, there's, like I said, there's a gift to initiative.
Yeah.
There's a gift to make people react.
Right.
It's like I get that from pro wrestling, right? Wait, if you're a good guy and you're getting, you know, cheered for, that's a good sign. If you're a bad guy and people are, you know, reacting,
right,
that's a good sign. If people are wrestling and there's no reaction, that's a bad sign. Yeah. So it's like the same thing with social media. Like, if you're a content creator and you're publishing content and you're pushing out content and nobody's responding or reacting, it's a really bad sign. So I'd rather have 100,000 people that are pissed off at me over a take or a hot take or a piece of content than not reacting at all.
Let's be a little bit more specific. We talk about the peso pluma. We talk about that one a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you know, that was an accident. I was actually in the room and somebody had suggested that I do the video. I don't remember if it was my wife or if it was somebody else, right? Like, I don't remember exactly how that played out.
Yeah.
And whenever that happened, I was like, all right, I'll do it. And I did it. And then it just, boom, it just went. And I didn't really want to do it. I'm not usually the type to let people influence my content, but I was like, man, I'm here. I'll just do whatever. I don't care. And I did it not thinking that I was going to get a reaction to that degree. And I got it. And I was like, wow, what the fuck? Am I like the Howard Stern of Latinos right now? Like, because like everything that week was catching, like the blood in, blood out, the flame went on, like.
But that shit's legendary, bro. That shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, that shit.
I was hitting though. Like, I mean, I don't know if you saw the blood in, blood out piece on TikTok and on Facebook, but man, like, especially on Facebook, it went super crazy.
I gotta check that out because I love saying Vatos Locos forever. And say.
So it was just one of those things where it's like, now I'm having to have it. Like, even earlier this year, I had made a comment about Tank Davis wearing a Selena shirt, and it hit the food community. And I'm seeing these people post everything, and like they're using what my opinion matters apparently now.
Right.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, everything I'm doing is under a microscope now, and it's starting to get a little uncomfortable in that sense. But at the same time, I'm like, well,
that's what you do it for.
Hey, look, fuck, I'm getting a reaction. So now I'm a little bit more like, okay, I have a responsibility to myself, to my people, to the culture, to who and what message I'm trying to get across to the public. Like, if you're really listening, I'm gonna see how much you're listening, because I'm gonna say something that I want you guys to carry with you. So,
but it's like even the more we record, like, I feel like if we don't get haters, we're not doing something right.
Just the reaction.
You know what I mean? Like, we need positive and negative reactions.
Yeah. Does that affect what you put out? The thought that you affect the culture? Like, you're such a, people refer to you as like a godfather of the.
That's a good question, bro.
of the Texas scene. Like, so you're on the forefront. Yeah. Do you think about what you put out? When people are calling you the Godfather?
I would say whenever they labeled me the Godfather in 2015, that just put a responsibility on me. Yeah. Right? Like, I felt like, okay, if you're going to call me the MVP of the league,
sure.
Now I got to play like the motherfucking MVP of the league,
yeah,
right?
You got to show up.
So I feel like after they labeled me that, I did that. And then after they inducted me into the Hall of Fame, I did that. And then after they labeled me a gatekeeper, I did that again. Like, anytime that they've ever put a label on me, last year they labeled me the Executive of the Year. I got nominated for it. And I feel like right now I'm showing why they did that.
I was about to say that, bro. I think now, like, it's stamped. Because I think Louis about to go crazy.
Yeah, well, Louis is going crazy.
He's going crazy, bro.
But we'll get to that in a second. It's like, as all of that's happening, like, I already knew, all respect to Louis, like, I knew this was a part of my future. I just didn't know who it was going to be with.
Right.
I didn't know it was going to be with him, the first artist that I ever, worked with. But in regards to, like, I know what I'm capable of. Like, I know I'm a bad motherfucker when it comes down to it. And that's not being arrogant. That's just because I believe in myself.
Yeah.
Sure.
But does it put pressure on me? Yeah, dude, absolutely. Like, I do think about what I put out, and I always look into, like, I create the way I used to write music, right? Later on in my career, later on in my songwriting years, was how can I write the song to where it's going to resonate with the live performance? Yeah. Because I care about performing.
Sure.
So it's the same thing right now when I create content. How can this correlate to the performance aspect?
Right. Make an impact.
How is this going to perform? What am I trying to say? Do I mind doing a hot take on sports? Sure, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal is the greatest center of all time. I'll say it, right? because I feel that
Facts.
way. Because I feel that way. But is that really the message I'm going to spread amongst everybody? Like, I know what narratives I believe in and that I want to create. So when I create, yes, that does factor into it. But there is times where I don't necessarily know the extent of how far my voice is going, and I don't know how much or how big it's gotten.
Yeah.
So when a Peso Pluma clip goes viral like that, and I did it just kind of halfway, like, whatever, there's no more, whatever. Like,
yeah.
Like, I'm there now. Like, these people are fucking tuned in. They're listening. And, okay, so I got them now.
I mean, and there's no way to know, like, what's going to work, right? What's going to fucking go viral, what's not. Because, I mean, we didn't think, one of our past hosts, comment on a famous football player.
Guest.
Was going to, my bad. Was going to go, hit Sports Illustrated, right? I mean, like, you just don't know. I mean, you wake up Saturday morning and you're like, oh, shit, that went viral.
But I sometimes craft, like, people ask me whenever I do my interviews and when I started doing the podcasting stuff, I'll know after the interview's done right away, like, that's the clip. When I did the Bun B interview.
That's exactly how I think. I'm already like 10 steps ahead thinking, all right, that one.
Yeah, whenever I did the Bun B interview, I remember I told my production team, as soon as we were done, that clip right there, that's it.
Exactly.
And I was right. I was right on the fucking money.
Yep.
I did an interview with DJ Paul, 3-6 Mafia, and the interview was so dry, I could tell he did not want to do it. I could tell management forced him to do it. And we had planned this out. It was supposed to be 30 minutes, then 20 minutes, then the day of, they're like, you got 10 minutes. I'm like, whatever, bro. Like, whatever.
Like,
why
did I even show up for this?
Nah, man. I'm like, I know how to make chicken soup out of chicken shit. It's not a problem, right?
Mexican, not a Mexican.
For sure. So as soon as like I got in there and we started knocking it out, like, I was like probably 7 minutes in my head, because I know how to time it without anybody telling me to time it.
Yes, sir.
And I'm like, bro, this fucking interview sucks. Like, there's nothing clickbait worthy out of this. I brought my whole production team out for what? Yeah. This shit's whack. And then at the last thing, it was like a Hail Mary in the fourth quarter with 5 seconds left. I said something and then it like opened it up and it was unintentional. And I said to him, he fucking went in, and as soon as I heard him say it, I was like, boom, went in.
Got him.
Got him. And I got that fucking clip. You know what I'm saying? Yes, and it was just like, and as soon as it was done, I told my guy, that's the clip.
So that's one thing I want to touch on is you've had some heavy hitters on your podcast.
Yeah, I mean, and all of that's been made possible from being a talent buyer. Like I tell you guys, whenever I became the promoter, right, and I transitioned into that role of my career, right, because to kind of describe it in detail, it's a lot more complex. But when I became the promoter, I established a Rolodex of people,
Sure.
So I don't have, some of the same, I don't want to say battles, but I don't have some of the same
hurdles
that other podcasts have in getting guests. I mean, I still struggle with it because I don't want to interview just anybody and then to convince them to come to the production studio. That requires work.
Sure.
So, I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of people on my show, and I've had a lot of conversations. And as the clips go, I got an amazing production team. So those guys make me look like I'm $1,000,000. So that opens up the door for people to want to do it. And then they see the clips going viral. So that, man, this guy has an audience.
Right. Yeah. The same reason you came here.
It's all quality. It makes you an asset.
It makes me an asset. Yeah. Also, like, when we talk about the interview, like I was trying to say, I don't really plan these conversations out. I go in with the conversation. I have a general idea of what, like, if you tell me, oh man, you're about to interview Fat Joe or you're about to interview Jadakiss, in my mind, I have a general idea of what I'm going to say going into it and where I want to kind of, get my clips out of.
Right.
But
you never fucking know.
Yeah, I just go.
I would say that's probably because you're a student of the game, like music wise.
Yeah,
like, I would already know exactly what to ask them.
Yeah, I mean,
it's probably different for a guest, like you just have no idea about.
But I mean, Eric and I can contest to that too, because we walk into this half this shit, blind. Like, you know what? Like, you know what?
Who's on today?
Yeah,
yeah. Who is smooth? Right? You know.
I mean, we could plan all day, but you always have to have that spur of the moment.
Sure.
You have to be able to, just do it on the spot, improvise.
Yeah, I want unscripted, real life shit. Yeah. I don't want you to come in here prepared, ready to talk about, this happened, sure. Robotic. I want you to be you. I want people to know who you are.
So that's what happened to us, that clip that went viral with the football player.
Yeah.
The pocket, it was basically ended. He was like, all right, man, thank you so much for coming on. I was like, wait. I got one more question for you. The last question of the podcast, bro.
The Hail Mary in the last quarter.
Yeah,
last fucking question has 115,000 views on Instagram.
Wow.
Got published in Sports Illustrated. Steelers Nation's going crazy on Facebook.
Yeah, it's showing up on Google News. Like, it's wild.
Bro, that's how I seen it. I was on Google saying when was the best time to water your grass. And at the bottom it says, offensive lineman bashes Ben Roethlisberger. I'm like, wait a minute. I click on it and then boom, puts our link in the bitch.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh shit.
But I mean, that's how it happens. I mean, look, sometimes you have conversation and you don't really intend for it to go there. I interviewed Genuine, and that was actually the first one I had ever filmed. And it was probably my favorite, probably to me, one of my personal favorites, if not my favorite, just because like I admired him as an artist.
Sure.
But it went somewhere I did not expect that conversation.
Did he have a shirt on when he showed up?
Yeah, he did actually.
Okay, I just had to ask.
He did.
He never has a shirt on.
No, we talked about.
Eric's wife knows all about that.
He started talking.
Sure she does.
He started talking about mental health. He started talking about his dad committing suicide. He talked about Aaliyah, like in ways that I was like, as it was unraveling, I'm like, damn, this is pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
But I had no intent to like exploit that because to me it's like if I'm interviewing a guest, and I'm promoting the episode, like I still want to be mindful of the guest. Like they're opening up to me, and I don't want to make it so clickbaity. But we also have to.
You want some content.
It's a trailer to a movie. You want to watch the movie. Yeah. You got you got to see the good parts of the movie on the trailer. Otherwise, like I don't really want to watch that. I want to watch that movie.
And I mean, and that's kind of like what you and I talked off air is that. Mental illness is a real thing. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. So, like, to hear that fact that Genuine would even want to bring it up live on the air.
That's asking for help almost.
I mean, it's like...
It can be...
You get to a point, too, like, as a man, like, desperation. So I really kind of want to touch base on that, to get a little bit more, not so much about Genuine, but just about men in general. We're going to take a quick break. I'd like to come back to that.
All right, cool.